Hello and welcome back to JVCTR. For those that are new, my name is Johnny and today we've got something a bit more special than I'm used to on my channel. Today is my review of the BMW M240i. Yes, hello. And I understand that the BMW M240 and M140 is kind of a YouTuber staple. There is so much content on this kind of stuff on YouTube that I kind of wanted to find out what it was like for myself, really. So these things are very, very well known in the car community for being obscenely powerful and kind of reasonably priced. And that's because they fall into BMW's warm hatch category. Now this car for me is actually really well placed within their sort of pricing structure. So you can pick up one of these for under 40 grand, which means if you live in the UK, it falls into the cheaper tax bracket. And it also makes this car kind of attainable to anyone who perhaps can't afford an M3 or an M2 or a proper M car, as the cheapest M car now is nearly 50 grand, which is a lot of money. Now, one of the biggest advantages of buying or opting for BMW's warm hatch is that it doesn't look too aggressive. I like the fact that it's seriously powerful, which we'll come on to in a minute, but doesn't really look it. I quite like the fact that it's understated, but there's a couple of ways that you can tell a 240 or a 140 from afar if you know what you're looking for. Now the first one is of course the fact there is no fog lights, and that is because that has been replaced with two intercoolers for the turbos on this massive 6-cylinder engine. And the other thing that you'll notice about an M240 over a standard 1 or 2 series is these blue calipers, which on this particular car with the black olives and the sapphire black paint are really quite noticeable, which provides a nice little detail. I quite like that. And by far the most obvious way to tell a 240 or 140 from the rest of the range is those exhaust tips. And the noise they produce is, well, it's nice, but it feels a bit restrained. And of course BMW have kind of had to do that because this car is already snapping at the heels of the M2 on a performance level. They can't make it sound as good as well, let's be honest. But I guess none of that really matters, because what BMW are actually known for is building the ultimate driving machine, or so they say. So how about we find out? So now that we're behind the wheel, I can finally experience what the 240's like to drive. And at the moment, I'm just sort of down some back lanes and I don't really want to be hammering it, if I'm honest. I'm still new to the car. It's rear wheel drive and it's really powerful. So I'm in comfort mode, just sort of bumbling around really. And I must admit, it's a very pleasant place to be. This feels very much like a luxury car. Road noise is minimal. The suspension is perhaps a little firm, if I'm being really picky. This particular car has the M Performance suspension, none of the adaptive stuff or anything like that. Although from other reviews that I've read, the adaptive suspension apparently is very good. So if you are opting for one of these and you like a bit of comfort, then perhaps the adaptive suspension is for you. Now, as you've probably heard from my chuckle there, this car's really fast. Even in comfort mode, it is really fast. And although I didn't think the engine sounded that great from the outside, in the cabin, it's a different story. It sounds absolutely mega in here. I don't know whether it's enhanced. I haven't looked it up, if I'm honest. But yeah, it sounds great in here. Now, I guess that's enough talk about comfort, because that doesn't make very good screen time. So let's knock it into sport, which disables the start-stop, which is a good thing. And let's see what it can do. So I found a dual carriageway just so I can find my feet, and then we can go have some fun a bit later. So 3, 2, 1, let's go. Holy moly! That thing is so fast. I mean, I cannot believe how quick that got to 70 mile an hour. I mean, oh, is there anyone behind me? Well, I might have to try that again, because, well, let's slow down. We'll go to about 30. Hit the kick plate. Oh my word! So yes, this car is rather quick. And I guess that is kind of testament to the fact that it's only running through the rear wheels. Now, all these swanky cars that are coming out, four-wheel drive, mega grip, that's great. But that comes with transmission losses, and that represents a shortfall in speed. So if you're after just pure outright acceleration, this is by far the car for you. But the one thing you've got to bear in mind by opting for a car like this is just having power to the rears can make it a little bit frightening. Now, if we go into more about the modes, so this is currently in Sport, as you just said. There is also a Sport Plus mode, which I don't fancy today, as the roads are rather greasy, and this isn't my car. So we'll leave it in Sport for me, but what Sport Plus does is remove some of the traction column a little bit more, should we say, and allow you to have a little bit more slippage at the rear. Okay, so we're just heading into some country lanes, and I'm still in sport mode, and what I really want to find out is just how fun the chassis is. Like, does it feed back? Is it amusing? Does it put a smile on your face? Because having this massive amount of power just on tap to the rear wheels is great, but you need a chassis that can cope with that power, and one that also gives you some smiles. The steering rack is not as quick as I was expecting it to be. Now, when using this car to drive fast and pressing on, as I've just discovered, the chassis is pretty good. It's nicely balanced, and I do actually really enjoy driving this car. But if I'm gonna be picky, the front end feels a bit vague. Like I'm not really too sure what's going on at the front end. I haven't experienced any understeer or anything like that, although I haven't been pushing that hard. But yeah, it's just not quite as on it as I am used to. Now, as you may have guessed by my face, this car is seriously quick. I mean, it's got 335 horsepower and 369 foot-pound of torque. I mean, that's not something to mess with. So before we have a look at the iDrive system, worth noting that this car has pretty much zero optional extras other than the gearbox. So this iDrive is the one that you'll get as standard, basic, across all 140s, 240s, and possibly some of the rest of the range. I'm not too sure, I'd have to check on that one. But anyway, so you've got a number of features up here. So firstly, being media and radio, that's pretty much what you'd expect. So you've got sort of DAB and that kind of stuff, really. Communication is obviously just your phone. Navigation, it's okay, it's not too bad. I mean, I quite like the little diddly knob here where you twist and then push down. Very similar to the Nest, funnily enough. Anyway, there are my thoughts on the BMW M240i and what a lovely car it is. So I've only had it for a couple of hours, and in summary, yes, I really like it. It's kind of left an impression on me, I must admit. And the one massive reason as to why you would buy one of these is, of course, that engine. The way it drives and the way it sounds, particularly if you were to open it up with an aftermarket exhaust, is awesome. I mean, it is epic. The interior is a really nice place to be. It's lovely and comfy. Road noise is not as bad as I thought it would be either as well. So all in all, this is a lovely car. If I'm going to mention the negatives, there's only really one I can think of. That would be the front wheels. It's not that it's understeery, because I haven't really experienced understeer in it, but you feel a bit disconnected from the front end, and that would be my only gripe with this car. But otherwise, I think it's awesome. So with that, we'll leave it there. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my car content, then feel free to hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you in the next video. There goes a sight from my soul.